Aye, we give you the facts. It's not what you think. Popeye Newsling, Young King, 1 yard, bless.
Good morning, Popeye. Grandma watch Popeyes every morning and every
What
night.
am I drink? What am I think? You're listening to Popeye News Links. This is the Admiral Tibet who I represent, and remember, the time is so serious, cantankerous and dangerous. This is Popeye News Links.
The first verse. Good night, everyone. Good night. Howdy, 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 howdy. How you do? Good night, everyone. How you doing? How are you up now? Is it tonight? Tonight, we are not going to sing the national. I wonder if Esther, let me add Esther. Esther, how you do?
I am good.
You good? All right.
Yes,
Esther, you remember the national pledge?
Maybe.
All right, let's try. After three, 1, 2, 3. Here we go, Esther. Before God and all mankind, I pledge the love and loyalty of my heart, the wisdom and courage, the wisdom and courage of my mind,
the strength
and vigor of my body.
Yes.
In the service of my fellow citizens.
Yes. I promise
to stand up for justice,
brotherhood
and peace.
To work
diligently and creatively.
To speak.
To think generously and honestly.
So that Jamaica
may, under God, increase in beauty. Fellowship and prosperity and play her part in advancing welfare of the whole human race.
Get a part correct.
That is the national pledge. How you doing, Esther?
I'm so embarrassed. I am good.
No, man, no. You know what? I was reading, so don't worry. I was reading from something, so don't worry yourself. We are in the same boat. So how you doing?
Good.
Nice to have you here again, and I'm sure some persons are gonna find what we have to discuss tonight very interesting. Okay. So let's get right into it. What's the topic for tonight?
The topic for tonight is T visas. T as in Tom. So yes, and T stands for trafficking.
Okay, all right, let's go.
Talk about T visas. Okay, so I did write just like the last time I wrote my notes. Just realized I have no water next to me. Remember last time I cough like me crazy?
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be. I hope I will not cough tonight.
I hope not. Yes.
So we're talking about T visas. T visas came just like the last time when we talked about VAWA, and with VAWA we talked about how Congress had come up with a certain type of like a law, an act. So it's the same thing with T visas. So basically in 2000, Congress enacted what they call the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, TVPA, right? And as a part of that, they came up with the T non-immigrant status, the T visa, right? And that basically allows people who were victims of severe forms of trafficking to obtain some type of immigration benefit. So that's the general legal back history, just to give you some context in that, right?
Okay.
Right. So in order to be eligible for a T visa, they normally look at 4 things that you should have, right? You are or you were a victim of severe trafficking in person, right? So it happened to you. You are physically present in the United States, or you're at the border at a port of entry on account of someone, trafficking you or, bringing you there.
Okay.
Another element you have to show is that you have, complied with, or if they've asked for any assistance, if law enforcement has asked you for any information in connection with it, that you have complied with that request. And I'll get into all of these. I'm going to break down each element one by one. And the last one is that you would suffer extreme hardship if you had to leave the United States.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So trafficking. What type of trafficking are we talking about? Mostly sex trafficking or labor trafficking, right?
Okay.
And we know sex trafficking has to do more with like a commercial sex act, right? And they want to see that there's some type of fraud, force, or coercion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about prostitution, but it's a little bit more than prostitution. It's more almost like a sex slave, mostly because you're probably not being quote unquote adequately compensated for what you're being asked to do, right?
Yes.
It may sound, funny in some instances, but the reality of it is that a lot of women are exploited in this regard, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, so once you are, when it comes to like for sex trafficking, for argument's sake, for example, you may find that someone is, there's a lot of threats.
Mm-hmm.
So they're threatening to harm you or harm someone for you, or they try to, blacklist you or something, or they try to, they take your passport, or they make false reports on you or whatever. So we're looking at all those things that happen when you're in such a situation, right? The other type of trafficking we want to talk about is labor trafficking.
Yes.
And we may see a lot more of labor trafficking more than sex trafficking, but to be honest, they really both happen a lot. You'd be surprised. The labor trafficking really now just comes through, a regular job. You were told about a job and you came up for this job or whatever it is. While they recruited you for this job, there was some amount of, fraud. They lied to you about the pay, lied to you about the benefits, lied to you about perhaps the working conditions. And somehow now that you're in this job, it's not what you anticipated that it would be, right?
Okay.
They look a lot at, for example, in the labor trafficking, they look, for example, is it that whoever has hired you, are they isolating you, restricting your movement? Sometimes you're not allowed to, where you're working and you can't leave, and you're not getting a day off, and you're working 16 hours and there's no lunch break, and the conditions are inhumane. There are 10 of you in one room and there's only one bathroom, and male and female. This is a lot of things like that you find happening with those labor conditions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for example, or another example I can quickly give is, for example, they'll say they're paying you $15 an hour, but then they're charging you, $400 a week for your accommodations and $100 a week for transportation. So you're basically giving them back.
Yes.
What they said they were paying you. So they're really not paying you $15 an hour. They're probably paying you $1 an hour when you really work it out. So it kind of stuff like that you see starts heading in the direction of labor trafficking. So if you want to say that in order to show that you are a victim in that regards, you have to show that the means, like how were you placed in this position? What type of pattern, or what were you told that made you feel like you should have, taken this opportunity, And then, for example, they look at we look at the means to an end, right? And so a lot of times the end kind of ends up being, for example, either involuntary servitude or like debt bondage. So for example, a lot of times you find that you're paying down maybe some type of debt, and the debt is not going down, So there are a lot of little nuances to it, but the general thing of it is that you are being exploited.
Yes.
Most times people can sense that they are exploited, but of course you feel helpless because already, you're in the country already, you don't have any papers and XYZ. You're kind of glad that you do have a job, but you kind of also know that something is not right about the situation that you're in,
Yes.
So that's something to take note of. For example, a lot of times, sometimes it may be that you were brought into the country and you'll get a loan to be able to make it here. And then when you get here, you're promised a job that will help you to pay off that loan that was used to bring you here. But somehow, like I was saying earlier, somehow that loan, the balance is not going down.
Not going down, yes.
Calls are made to your family back, into your home country to say, so and so still owes XYZ, and if they're not paying, this is what's going to happen, type of thing. So
Okay.
it's very common. It's very common. And the person's just working, and the debt is not, repaid. So
Yes.
that's one thing to be mindful of. I'm gonna give an example. This is a book example that I have, so I'm gonna read it for you. But like, for example, somebody approached this lady. This is a true story. So she's from Korea, and they approached her about a job in the United States, and so she decided to come. And when she came, she was arrested by ICE, and she was held in detention. And then the people who promised her the job, so her traffickers, they're the ones who paid the bond to get her out of ICE detention, right?
Okay.
And
Yes.
then they demanded that she pay them back through her
Okay.
labor.
Yes. Yes.
So she ended up now, she was working 12-hour days, 6 days a week, sexual favors to the men for money. And for example, for her, they took all the money that she earned, and then they charged her high money for rent and food. So it caused the debt that she owed to them to just continuously increase.
Yes.
So for example, somebody like her, that was deemed, yes, that's a severe form of trafficking.
Okay.
And so, like I said, it really happens a lot. You'd be so surprised.
Yes.
So that's the first element. We talk about being able to say that you were trafficked into the United States. Someone, said to you, this is what I'm promising you, come here, I'll pay your way, or you, whatever it is. And, on account of that promise, you are now here in the United States.
Yes.
Okay, another thing to look at now, they want to know that you're still here in the United States. So physical presence.
Okay.
And so you got to show that you're still physically here in the United States. So, and also being here, that you're either currently in the situation or you used to be in the situation, but you're still here.
So if you used to be.
Yes, and you're still in the United States.
Okay.
You still have an opportunity to perhaps apply for a T visa.
Okay.
So you could be, like I said, currently in it, or you somehow were able to escape it, but you're still in the United States. And most times you find a lot of people in the second category where they were perhaps after a while able to get out of it. And like I spoke earlier, some of those persons, they were able to get out of it, but they were now blacklisted because whoever they used to work for probably told everybody in that general city or town that don't hire this person. And so now they find themselves unable to get a job simply because they refused to subject themselves to whatever inhumane conditions or stuff that they may have been presented with at that other job, So, and I've spoken to persons even recently where that was the case. Came up here and they left the job because it was just insane. The conditions were just so bad, but they were unable to get a job anywhere else in the general area because that employer had told everybody else, don't hire this person. So that kind of thing does happen. Another thing to think about also, if you came here and never did the job, you can still meet the requirement that say, you got to show that you are physically in the United States on account of the trafficking. So for example, I'll give you a real life example. I know a young lady who came to the United States. They paid for her, brought her in to prostitute her.
Yeah.
And by the time she got to the house where she was going to be living and stuff, she was able to, it's kind of messed up. She was able to escape that particular situation, but wound up in another one. But my point is, even though she did not actually get into the job of being prostituted because she was able to get out of that house, if her story had ended there, she still would have been able to apply for a T visa. So if it is that you came here for a particular situation and somehow you didn't end up doing it or whatever it is, you're still able, there is a great possibility that you still would be able to use the fact that, you were coerced here under some kind of fraud or whatever it is. You still be able to use that to prove the physical presence, part of the requirement that you would need for a T visa. For example, another point I want to bring up also, like people who used to be in the situation, because you're trying to show them that I'm still here. And part of the reason why I'm still in the United States is because of what happened to me. Because of course, say you came here on your visitor's visa.
Yes, I was going to ask you that. Yes,
Yeah, a person came here on a visitor's visa because of whatever,
Yes.
and you're promised this job or whatever it is. And because of the promise of the job, you have now decided to remain.
Yes.
And then after that 6 months, things have gone sour. So now you have completely messed your status up. And on account of what you may have endured or all of that, you are now in a situation where things are just not going well for you for a number of reasons. The point I'm trying to make is even in that situation, you would be able to say, it's been maybe 7-8 years, but in the 7-8 years, you were so traumatized by what happened, or you haven't been able to, find another job because they blacklisted you. And so you are barely making it and all that type of stuff. The point is, the reason you're still here, because of course you would not necessarily return to your home country, because of course you would never be able to return to the US. So you're kind of stuck, kind of between a rock and a hard place. So that in itself, in terms of proving it, in terms of that in itself is one way you can show immigration. Yes, I left that situation 10 years ago, but that situation is what has caused me to be even where I am today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they look at a number of things, They're looking, are you still traumatized? Do you have health issues from this particular thing? What are you doing now to stabilize yourself, to kind of get yourself in a better position? Are you relying on, some type of maybe government aid or something as a result of what may have happened to you? Are you probably afraid of the persons you used to work for? Are they threatening you? Are they still threatening you? Are they threatening your family back home? All that type of stuff is what
Esther, I know a lot of people might be in this position. The fact that the person went there on a visitor's visa and then started working and there's an issue. You're saying that the person still has a case?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, because quite often, right. Because we're looking at because it always starts with the promise of the job,
Okay.
It starts with the promise of the job and the real reliability on that. And then when you actually get here or get into the position of the job, then it's completely not what you thought it was going to be. I mean, it just went completely south.
Yes.
And what it is, of course, as you know, people take advantage of individuals that don't have a work permit. They know you don't have a work permit. They know you don't have a social security number. They know you don't have legal status here. So they feel that they can take the liberty and treat you however they like. You see that a lot with some of these agencies. A lot of these agencies, they pop up out of nowhere. And so a lot of people come up here and they're working for this particular agency. And yes, they may be finding you a job, but then, like I said, most people, they kind of have a sense within themselves, this is not right. I should not be perhaps treated this way. Now, to be clear, not every bad job situation is going to fall under trafficking, which is why we have these different elements.
Okay.
But, not everything is going to be like, not because you had a horrible boss or they were mean to you and they made you work, but some things you look at, for example, you'll see some people working 16-hour days and they're not being paid overtime, stuff like those things. I start to give a second look. So quite often when people, call, whether they meet with me or they meet with my husband for the consultation, we start asking certain questions. And I'll point blank start saying to them, do you work? Are you currently working now? Tell me about this job. What's happening there? And then certain things they may say might trigger some things for me, Then I kind of start digging deeper into it. So we've talked about the types of trafficking in terms of, the sex trafficking or the labor trafficking. And then I talked about the physical presence, about being here in the US now in the trafficking, or it was something that you experienced before, but you're still here. And now the next element I want to mention about is the complying with the law enforcement agency. Now I know most people are like, oh, I'm not do that, I'm not turn on informer, da, 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 da. It's not really so much about that, you know. And I know a lot of people shy away when they hear that. But I have found that when it comes to T visas, in terms of the reporting requirement, a lot of it we handle, you know. We, as the attorney, we are the ones who make the contact with the agency. So we manage what is being done, what is being said.
Okay.
You know? And immigration, US, when I say immigration, I use it interchangeably for USCIS. It's just a loose, you know, term I'll use. But immigration kind of wants to know that a reasonable attempt was made to report something. And one of the things I wrote down, you know, I said, I know people listening are like, they don't want to do that because whatever. But quite often, on the flip side, I get so many reports of when people call immigration about somebody else. You're mad at somebody and you're quick to call immigration to, you know. So my point is, have the same kind of energy for your own situation.
Yes.
If you want to speak out against something that's some type of injustice, the bottom line is the law enforcement agency, whoever it is, you know, it could be FBI, USCIS, it could be your local trafficking office. Quite often it's the local trafficking office in the county of the state where you live. Normally, the officer may ask some questions. Sometimes we just do a quick report. It varies. There's just, each one has their own way how they want you to report it. And it's up to them what they want to do after that. Some of them never follow up, you know, but you can say an attempt was made to let them know that I was a victim of trafficking. And that's the bottom line. That's really all USCIS cares about when they're adjudicating your case, that you made a reasonable attempt to report it, you know? And so, like I said, as the attorney, we do the legwork and we monitor it. So even if they have to talk to you, we're going to be present. It's not the kind of case where we're saying you have to go down to the police station by yourself and it's nothing like that.
Yes. Because reporting it means consulting with a lawyer, right?
Yeah. So with us, we do that part of it with you.
Okay.
And so when we file your T visa, we can, if you want to say, check the box off and say to USCIS, we have made a report to a law enforcement agency that this particular person has endured some form of trafficking. And like I said, at that point, the ball is in their courts. What they decide to do is up to them.
And it doesn't matter where in the United States the person is, as long as they contact you, what is to be done will be done, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So, right. And like I said, then we work with the local agency wherever they are located.
Okay.
Right. But I just want to reiterate, I don't want anybody to, and it's just generally speaking, it's not even about me or the firm or anything. I just want you to know the requirement is just that you made a reasonable attempt to let a law enforcement agency know. Beyond that, we take it in strides. Like I said, quite often, sometimes they don't even respond. And if it is, I can even go further to say, even if it is that they respond and ask for a number of things, we get to make the determination if what they're asking for is reasonable. And if I think what they're asking for is going to further traumatize my client, then we can respectfully decline.
Yes.
And we can say, you know, they ask, like I might even say to them, you could actually get that information yourself. Like, we don't need to give you that type of, you know, so I'm just saying, don't be afraid of the fact that there's a requirement. But it's kind of like the U visa, you know, whenever it has to do with crime or anything like that, some type of documentation. It's kind of like when you lose your passport. If somebody stole your passport, if you don't have a police report or something, it's very hard for you to get a new passport.
Yes.
All about getting that documentation down that something happened. So I don't want people to get fixated on, you know, possible repercussions.
Yes.
So we want to note that. I talked about it. If it's not reasonable, if what they're asking for is unreasonable, like I said, we can step in and kind of mitigate that. The last thing they look at is extreme hardship to you. So, how has this trafficking affected your life? Is it the kind of thing that could possibly happen to you again? Are there family members who have been affected or may be affected based on what has happened to you? If you go back to your home country, can you get help there? They look at how old you are when it happened. They look at what family members you have here, what family ties you have here, how long have you lived here, what ties do you have to the community? Do you have any other way of remaining legal in the United States? So there's a number of factors. It's kind of like when you're doing a waiver, when you're looking at hardship to a family member, they consider all these different factors. So that is at that point is when we're able to really say a lot of things, positive things about the client, to say they're 50 years old and they've been here the last 20 years. And that is because, 18 years ago when they came or whatever, I'm just making up numbers, such and such happened. And since then they haven't been able to so whatever. And we build a case, goodwill for this person and just show, how they are a good citizen and they have amazing ties to the community and they go to church and this and that or whatever it is. So all those things come into play at that point.
Yes.
So once all those elements have been met, so the type of trafficking, the physical presence, the reporting to a law enforcement agency, and finally the hardship. Once we see all those 4 elements, then we can get ready to file the application for a T visa. We file that with other things like, reports and a personal statement from the person that's applying, perhaps affidavits from other persons. So all those things come into play when you're filing. I think we talked about, I'm looking at my notes here. We talked already about past trafficking still makes you eligible.
Yes. And past, as in, this their cutoff period, say something happened 10 years ago.
No. And, in fact, I had an example here where, here's an example I have here, that this person, their trafficking situation ended in 2005.
Wow, okay.
And they applied for a T visa in 2017.
Okay, 12 years later, yes.
12 years later. And she was able to show that on account of what had happened to her back then, that's why she was still here, what she was experiencing. And I'll read the details just so you can get an idea. So for example, this person, she was actually raped and impregnated by a man who then had her like in debt bondage. So she was, paying all this money to this man, all this kind of stuff was going on with her, right? But then she submitted, mental health evaluations. And that kind of showed that she had PTSD, just post-traumatic stress disorder, as a result of what had happened to her.
Yes.
And because of what happened to her, she was unable to really live I don't want to say live a fulfilled life, but you get where I'm going.
Yes, man.
After experiencing that type of trauma, it has to affect your life going forward, And also she was able to show that if she went back to her home country in Guatemala, like a lot of the stuff that she's able to access here, she would not be able to get that in Guatemala. Okay. And so for that particular case, they were able to say, even though it had been 12 years, they could still see a correlation between her current life now, what's going on with her now, and what had happened to her back then.
Yes.
So that's one of the things, because a lot of times I find that quite quickly, because of the situation, for example, other people end up overstaying. Quite often you see them, because, they came, they had the 6 months or whatever it is, and all these different things end up happening. And then suddenly they find themselves out of status as a result. And now their options have gone down to, nothing. And that's one of the beauties about the T visa is that even though you're out of status, you can still be able to, you can be helped by a T visa should you qualify. You know,
Yes.
quite often people just think, well, if I'm married, we can't get papers come overstay. Not
Mm.
really.
Yes.
There are a few other categories, and this is one.
Mm-hmm.
And so if persons, if you qualify under that, then it's worth looking into,
Yes.
It is still a very untapped area of immigration law.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not, the processing time is not too long. I think it's probably like a year now or so, maybe
Really? Okay.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
probably like a year or so.
Mm-hmm.
They have a cap. It's about, I think it's like 5,000,
Mm-hmm.
and they've never really reached the cap. They've never really
Okay.
had 5,000 applicants in a year. So whatever visas they have assigned for T visas, whatever visa numbers they have assigned for T visas, they
Mm-hmm.
normally, if the persons meet all the requirements and they prove what, they show what needs to be proven for the case, quite often they'll get approved, and there's no waiting period because they have more visas than applicants.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Another thing we talk about with T visas is that sometimes, of course, if you have some type of immigration history,
Mm-hmm.
you may have some type of criminal background, and that's, and I use that term loosely. I don't want people to even get too caught up in that. But say, for example, whatever, maybe you wrote a bad check, maybe you were shoplifting at Walmart, I don't know, but you have
Yes.
some type of record. Normally,
Yes.
as you know, if you have some type of record like that and you're trying to, adjust status or whatever you're trying to do, it's going to come up. And
Yes.
most
Yes.
times you would need a waiver.
Okay.
One of the good things is that with the T visas, most waivers are applicable to you or available to you, I should say.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Right.
Mm.
But
Yes.
the ones that they don't allow you don't have a waiver for, if you're like trained people and all those things, are
Mm-hmm.
recruiting child soldiers or Nazi business, all the kind of things. If you're in
Yes.
those kind of things, then of
Yes.
course there's some I will say there's some drug charges that are still a hard no.
Mm-hmm.
But for the other stuff, most times you're able to get a waiver, One good thing about T visas is that family members can also benefit.
Oh, okay.
And
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of, I won't go too deeply in it, but the bottom line is if, for example, the applicant for the T visa, if they are under 21,
Mm-hmm.
then their parents can benefit from it.
Okay.
Or if they have siblings who are under the age of 18, they could also benefit. Or if they're under 21 and they have a child, that child can benefit, right?
And the beneficiary can be outside of the United States?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So once a person has been granted the T visa status, the T1 status, if
Yes.
there is an eligible family member based on the age of the main applicant,
Yes.
then only, kind of like when, like, for example, only US citizens can file for their parents, is a similar type of situation. So
Okay.
based on the age you are, basically if you're under 21 or over 21.
Mm-hmm.
If you're over 21, you can get, T visa for your spouse.
Okay.
For example, you can get for your unmarried child that's under 21. But if there's like present danger, the situation is very tense and there's some type of present danger or type of retaliation, sometimes in those situations, you are able to get a parent no matter what age you are. Normally, if there's no like real threat, you have to be under 21 to be able to get a parent in. But if there's some type of real threat, you're over 21, you can get a parent in. You can get a sibling in if there's some type of real threat, even though you're over 21. The other part about it is that outside, in addition to that, so like I said, I won't go too deep, but just to give you an idea, the T visa allows you to even bring additional family members. So say, for example, let me see. If you're over 21, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and your child now qualifies for a visa, a T visa. They qualify for a T visa.
Yes.
Then that child, if they have a child also, they could also qualify, which ends up being your grandchild.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yes,
And in
yes.
some, if there's, like I said, that present danger I talked about, the present danger or retaliation, you can, if your sibling qualifies and then your sibling's child qualifies, at that point, that's like your niece.
Yes, yes.
So the T visa is actually one of the only visas that allows so many different family members to
Yes,
benefit from
yes.
you. Because normally,
Okay.
it's only husband and wife, child, parent, that's it. But
Yes,
with the
yes.
T visa, in some instances, it extends to a niece, a nephew, a grandchild,
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So it there are some nuances to it. There are some,
Yes.
when you
Yes.
get into the small fine details of it.
Mm-hmm.
From the T visa, eventually persons can you get it for 4 years, that visa, and then eventually you can file for a green card.
Green card? Okay.
Yeah, and then while you've applied for the green card, then your visa status is extended while you're waiting for the green card to be processed.
So when I get the T visa, you get a work permit as well?
Yes, you can apply for a work permit with the T
Okay.
visa. Yes.
Okay.
And they actually end up also giving you like a new I-94 type of
Okay.
thing. Because you basically apply to be admitted, because quite often some of the persons who apply for T visas were not, some were never admitted, and then some of the ones who were admitted have overstayed. Most times, by the time you would have gotten an approval, you would have overstayed, or like I said, you came in EWI, entry without inspection. Those are the people who come over the border.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's
so for persons who come over the border, they can qualify for a T visa as well?
they could, yes.
Okay. Okay.
It's not only persons who have been admitted who came here through, for example, an official port of entry with a passport and a visa.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not only for persons who have come in that way. Because quite often, a lot of the T visas that I see currently come from my Hispanic clients.
Oh.
And they're coming from Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador. I had one young lady, I mentioned her story, a bit of her story earlier, but I'll go a little bit into it to give you some context. Like for her, she was 18, 17 or 18. Oh, there's another thing. There's another point I should have brought up about if you're under 18 and you qualify, for example, for a T visa, some of the requirements will not apply to you because of your age. So some of the hardship that you have to show and stuff, because you're under 18, USCIS does not require that. But this young lady, for example, I think she was about 17. And she was actually, it was at her church. At her church was having like a crusade. This is in El Salvador. This was back in 2005. And the persons came there. And just the same, just kind of recruiting, just saying, you don't want to go live in America. We have really good jobs in America. We can help you get a job and da-da-da-da. And we're leaving for America in a few days. I know some people you can travel with, type of stuff. And that's how she left home and came to the United States, traveled for many days, got to America. And, money had been paid. And when she got here, like I said, she didn't realize that she was going to be, she was being sex trafficked into the country. And kind of what saved her was that one of the guys kind of liked her and was just sorry for her. But like I said, with her story got crazier because then she got turned over to somebody else who ran like a laundromat. And she was working like 18 hours a day at that laundromat. Eventually, she literally ran away. She escaped one day with a man who came to like deliver things there. So it's real. Trafficking is real. It's real, and people are being exploited. I hear stories of persons who, like I said, they're working these non-ending shifts and there's nobody giving them breaks or whatever it is.
Yes.
Like I said, it's not everyone who is being treated unfairly has been trafficked.
Yes.
I see a lot of people also, the coyotes. I don't know if you hear about the people who bring people across the border.
Yes.
There's a lot of trafficking in that also, because quite often you're required to cook for those men and work for those men. Oh, another thing
Yes.
I should bring up, you can also, they're in some domestic relationships also, you're able to get a trafficking a T visa, depending also, because there's some
Okay.
relationships, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
where your spouse is requiring you to do a bunch of things,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
literally have you, in bondage, literally have you in bondage. You're basically imprisoned, can go certain places, can do that, whatever it is,
Yes.
You talk about some of the work. And like I said, I don't want people to misinterpret what I'm saying, but I'm just giving examples. I remember about 5 years ago, near where I lived, there was a restaurant, and
Yes.
that restaurant had a number of people working. I think they were from like Vietnam or something. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I do remember that a call had been put in, and the FBI and a bunch of people did a raid on that
Yes.
restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And come to find out, all these people were working at that restaurant and they all lived in one house.
Yes.
And the owner of the restaurant had like a bus that he would transport them from the house
To work.
to the work and back.
Yes. Mm.
And I was told by some persons who were closer to the situation that some arrests and stuff had happened because there was trafficking. When they checked deeply into the situation, they saw some of that. So,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, it's not everything that looks like that is that, but
Mm-hmm.
quite often it is there. It is there, and it's just a matter of people being able to not be taken advantage of.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Not be taken advantage of. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You have covered a whole heap. Trust me.
But yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. Let me see if we can go to one or two questions. This person is saying what? What if you're married for twice for your green card and you got denied and you have two citizen kids? Can any of the kids file for you?
They can. I mean, the question is, will you get approved?
Yeah,
The
that's it.
issue is, you say you got married twice for your green card. It's gonna rest a lot on what did the denial say.
Yes.
If you got denied and it literally says, we find that your marriage was fraudulent and you entered in this relationship solely for immigration purposes, I
Yes.
promise you that more often than not,
Mm-hmm.
you will be denied if anyone else tries to file for you. And they call that falls under INA 204C.
Yes.
And so that's when they say you have, I don't know why the term is slipping me right now, but the bottom line is, if they find that you entered into a marriage solely for immigration purposes and they deny you based on that, you are basically precluded from anybody else filing for you. So it's kind
Okay.
of like in immigration circles, it's sometimes called the kiss of death. So you get a
Mm-hmm.
letter and it's telling you about 204C. It's very hard to overcome. I mean, extremely hard to overcome a 204C determination. So,
Okay.
I mean, sometimes people, end up getting through, but it's rare. Most
Hard.
times
Okay. This person is saying, let me see if I can understand. My friend has overstayed,
not.
was caught, and voluntary went back to
Mhm,
Jamaica. It's been
mhm.
12 years. Does that person still need a waiver? I think the person is
Probably.
asking. Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. Most times I can tell you the embassy in Kingston doesn't play. So
Mm-hmm.
anything happened to you and you're back in Jamaica, lost your visa, this, that, for you to be able to leave Jamaica again to go to the United States, you're more than likely going to need some form of waiver, something
Yes.
to be able to
Yes.
bypass that. Doesn't matter if it's been 20 years, 25 years, they hold it against you.
I-305 was approved. However, it didn't state if the applicant was in the US or Jamaica, so they requested to file another form to know where the applicant is. However, that form did not submit until, well,
She said I-305.
that's what I'm seeing here.
I-305.
I-305 was approved.
Hold on a second. Because I don't know if I've ever heard of a 305. Hold on. Okay. Is that person detained? This question has a lot more to it, and I'm not sure if it's the kind of thing I could perhaps answer on the fly.
Yes.
Yeah, because this is sounding like something that has to do with somebody who is detained. Because the 305 is an ICE form.
Let me see. There's the last part of the question is, hold on. However, hold on. Let me see. Let me find the question on the screen.
Okay.
They request another form. However, that form did not submit until, I'm not seeing the rest of it. I'm not sure what the person meant.
Yeah, it has to do with somebody. Based on what I'm seeing, I just did a quick search.
Yes.
It may be somebody who needs bond, but their question is still not clear. I'm still not, They can probably shoot me an email. Shoot me an email and type the entire question out. I'd be happy to answer it.
All right. This person is saying, question: my aunt applied for visiting visa for 2 of my kids, but that's not able to come. Can I bring them to the appointment? Or the aunt is not able to go?
Well, yeah, it's better for the parent to take the child just the same. They will probably want to know, where the children are going, why they are going, that type of thing. So even if I find that even if someone overseas has initiated the application, their presence at the embassy does not necessarily mean that you're going to either be, more approved or denied. So they're more concerned with, are the children really going for a vacation and will they be back? They may ask where the father of the children, that type of stuff. They want to make sure that this is not just a means of escape for both children.
Somebody keep asking a question. Is there a law in the immigration named dignity law?
Dignity law.
Yeah, somebody keeps asking that question.
Dignity law. I don't know if it's a almost like what do you want to call it? For what's better word, like a nickname for something else. It's not ringing a bell to me. I don't mind looking it up, but the dignity law. What's the basis for that? Do they mind sharing with me? Like,
you're just saying, person was saying, can you speak about the dignity law? So I'm not seeing anything else. Yeah. This person is saying, yes.
I'll look it up. I'll look into it next time.
Man, we can talk about it. Yes. This person is saying my visa. I think this person is in the US. My visa expired 15 years now. Once my boss tried to file for me, but did not work out. But I paid my taxes. I don't know what to do. Never get in trouble with the law.
The bottom line is, your boss can file for you in terms of perhaps file the I-140 petition. The issue is you will not be able to get a green card because you've overstayed. That's the bottom line. The fact that you've overstayed. I keep saying, once you've overstayed, you greatly narrow the options that are available to you. And that's really what happened. And so someone like her, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to say someone like her or him, whoever it is, quite often it's almost like you have to wait for something horrible to happen to you to then stand a chance for something else. When I keep, hey, nobody gonna rob you lately, type of thing. It's kind of sad like that.
My mother has a green card which will expire this October. She has been out of the country since 2020. Is there any hope of traveling again on the green card?
Perhaps. I would tell them to call in. The reason why I say that is because, as you know, if you stayed out of the US more than 6 months, it's considered that you have abandoned your lawful permanent resident status.
Okay.
But there are times and ways in which we are able to try to salvage that.
Yes.
So it is based on a lot of things, and it would be good for us to find out why is it that she's been out of the country for 3 years. I'm sure it's perhaps COVID, but
Yes.
COVID is now, heading on the back end at this point. So it's the kind of thing we'd have to question them and find out what exactly happened. When did you come? Da, 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 da. What's going on with you now? All the type of stuff. And then be able to build a case to see if we can salvage the green card. It's doable. It's doable. But sometimes it takes some amounts of legwork.
The person is saying it's Dignity Act, not law. Isn't it the same thing? The law and the act?
Dignity Act.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. Is it the one in Florida?
Well, I'm not sure. The person just asking about it.
Yeah, it probably is. I'm looking.
Yes.
I'm trying to do a quick. Right. So most of these are like it's kind of like with DACA.
Yes.
Yeah, those are like proposals that have been placed in the House in Congress.
Yes.
But they haven't passed.
Yes.
They're just ways in which people who have been here for some amount of time to be able to get some amounts of legal status. So that's kind of what happened with DACA. Those children that came here when they were really young, that was able to make its way. But for years and years, different things have always been proposed, but they always just get, kicked down, or they kind of just stay there perpetually. They look really good on paper, but they never get passed,
Yes.
Based on what I glanced and I saw, that's pretty much what's happening there. Correct me if I'm wrong. I really would prefer to, spend some more time just
research it.
Yes. Some more on it. But that's normally what happens, because there's so many people here who have been here, for 10, 15 years, like the person said before. They've never been in trouble with the law, They've been working, they've been paying taxes. And the bottom line is, we're trying to see, is there a way to help them to get legal status here? And so a lot of these, what do you call them, representatives, try to propose different ways and say, okay, what if you say they do this, and then after 2 years, they get a work permit, and if they don't get in any trouble, then after 5 years, they can apply for a green card, and then 10 years after that, they get citizenship. So it's all about a path to legal status and U.S. citizenship. And we're just trying to see different ways in which people, because so many people are here who are just stuck.
Yes.
And there's nothing bad happening in their life. So, like I was talking to somebody today, and I was literally saying to them, do you have any health issues? And I said to them, I feel bad sometimes when I'm asking people, is there anything bad happening in your life that I can perhaps use,
Yes,
do you have a child who needs brain surgery? It's really embarrassing sometimes, but sadly, that's the way the law is set up, that only when those type of things happen that, something is available to you.
This person is saying, if a green card expired while I was in Jamaica, is it possible to get a visa if I apply? Just take the chance.
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, at that point, you would have basically displayed to them that you are now going back to a non-immigrant state. So with a green card, you were an immigrant with legal status in the US. Some with a visitor's visa, you're only going there temporarily. So if you go back to apply for a B visitor's visa, you would have basically said to them, I'm no longer interested in being a lawful permanent resident. But clearly it was obvious that you would have abandoned it, because it's been so many years since you were in the US or you traveled as a green card holder. So you probably could get it. You know, you never know. Let's try
Yeah.
for it and see.
This person is saying, what if a person was given student visa, didn't go to school, and is now married to an American citizen? Will this be an issue getting a green card?
Generally speaking, it should not.
Okay.
That happens quite a bit. It should be they violated the visa. However, the fact that they are married to a U.S. citizen, they are considered an immediate relative, and quite often, you know, violating the term of your visa or the conditions of your visa, and now adjusting status through an American citizen spouse, you won't need a waiver or anything like for something like that. So you
Okay.
probably will be okay. But I'm saying that just assuming that everything else is
It's okay.
gravy, rice and peas, and nice. Yeah.
Okay. I-130 was expired. However, they did
They
not
didn't
they
know.
did not know that the person was in Jamaica. What next?
I think this was a young lady that was talking to us earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think yeah, you should email me. Email me the entire thing.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, email me
Oh,
the
that's
entire
the one with the I-305. Okay, the
Yes, it's the
305.
same
Yeah.
person. I believe it's the same person, and I think she should email me.
Email you. Okay. 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 Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man. All right. All right. All right. So the person is listening, and the email address. Can inbox me, and I'll give you the email address.
yeah,
It's there. It's on the screen.
yeah.
Yeah.
She
Okay.
can, yeah, send me the entire story because,
Y-
yeah.
Yes. Yes. Uh Person is saying when you check the case status online, the process timeline that they give as pass, what does that mean when you put in a date and the filing start and it gives you a date to contact them?
Okay. All right. So that's kind of a very interesting thing with USCIS. So as most people know, when you file something with immigration, you get a receipt notice. The receipt notice has a case number, receipt number, right? It normally starts with IOE or EAC or some, you know, SRC, 3 letters and then 10 digits. It's like 30
Yes.
characters in total most times. When you put that in on the USCIS website to get an update on the case, it may say, you know, it may just say, oh, we've received your case. But you know, for example, you filed this case a year ago. You check for the processing times on the USCIS website, and it says to you, a case like yours should only take 1 year. And you know it's been 2 years. However, or let me use a better example. It's been 1 year, but you know it's now been 18 months
Yes.
since you filed. They have a new box on the USCIS website that says, put in the date that you filed, and then they're going to tell you when to contact them. I find that they are so unreasonable. In Jamaica, they say them wicked bad. Because even though it's been like 18 months since you filed, so you're way beyond the 1 year, the date that they are giving you to contact them about the case
Yes.
is like is at the 2 year mark. It's like you have to wait 6 more months to contact them. How that makes sense? If
No
you
sense at all.
are supposed to come through in a 1 year, it's 18 months now. You tell me so I have to wait another 6 more months before we can contact you? Foolishness.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So what I try to do, I still make contact with USCIS, even though they're telling me on their website I should wait until X, you know, time to contact them. I still go ahead and contact them because it has fallen outside of processing times. Granted, sometimes when I do contact them, them tell me nonsense, you know, I'll be like, oh, well, whatever. But the bottom line is processing times is what it says. And if you're saying it takes 1 year to process this case and has now been 18 months, you are behind. And
Yes.
there should be, you know, some type of action on the case. So you need to put it up to a tier 2 officer for somebody to look in the case and tell me what is going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
This person is saying, can a person file for siblings if the parents has died?
Not necessarily. I mean, well, let me not say that. That would not be the basis.
Okay.
That would not be the basis. If you're a U.S. citizen, you can file for your siblings, whether your parents are alive or not.
Yes.
Let me clean that up, right?
Yes.
That would
yes.
not be the basis. Not because your parents have died would now make the reason why you're able to file for siblings. If you're a U.S. citizen, if you're a green card holder, you can't file for siblings at all. And if that's the question you're asking, to say maybe you're a green card holder and parents have died, you can't file for your siblings. It may be that, say, for example, you're in the US and you're a green card holder and you have I'm making up a situation, and you have a 3-year-old baby sister and your parents are in Jamaica and your parents both tragically die and there's nobody there to take care of your 3-year-old sister. While you may not be able to file a petition for that baby sister, you may be able to perhaps do humanitarian parole to request to say, can the child come to the United States because there's nobody else in Jamaica left to care for the child, something like that may be a scenario. But outside of that, you would still be able to file for the sibling just based on death of a parent.
This person is saying, I have a son that just come to the US. So I'm assuming the person who is asking is in the US. I have a son that just come to the US. When he gets his citizenship, can he file for me?
As long as he is over the age of 21, yes, when he becomes a citizen. So if he becomes a citizen at age 14, 15, or 16, he cannot file for you. When he turns 21 and also a citizen, then he can file for you.
Even if the parent is already in the US out of status?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a good point you brought. Let me just say this real quick.
Yes.
However, if the parent came here without inspection, the child will not be able to file for them. So
if I remember correctly, I think this person was asking about the 15 years and the boss tried to apply. I think it's the same J. Yeah.
The parent, if the parent is in the US out of status, but came here with a visa, the child can file for you, which is why the Hispanics, they talk about anchor babies, because basically what people come here to do and have babies, wait for the baby to turn 21 and file for you. Only if you have been admitted can that really work. So even people who are coming here now, I know a lot of Jamaicans are coming here through Mexico. If you come here and you have not been admitted, and you have a son or a daughter who is a U.S. citizen who may want to file for you, there could be some issues with that because you were not admitted. You just came in through the border. So that's something for them to think about.
Yeah. Okay. I think we have covered a lot tonight. We're going over an hour ago. I don't normally go more than an hour.
No problem.
Yeah, because I don't want when somebody watching it tomorrow, it's long and drawn out. I want
right.
Yeah. So
makes sense.
Yeah, man. In 2 weeks' time, we should be back, and I'm sure we're gonna be discussing another topic that will be of interest to everyone.
Yeah, and I hope that they learned something tonight about TV.
I'm sure, because I learned a lot.
To stand up for themselves in the workplace,
Yeah, man. Yes,
to make sure that they're not being treated unfairly.
And persons with burning questions, they can always reach out to the question to the number on the screen for consultations.
Right. And I want to say something real quick about that too. If you call on WhatsApp and then the office calls you back directly, they should pick up.
Yes.
I see a lot of them. It's almost like they run and hide.
Yes.
The call comes in through WhatsApp. And I turn right back around and I'm calling through the office line and nobody's picking up. And I'm like, you just called through WhatsApp. But I prefer to call. And it's the same number that's showing up on
it's the same number? Yeah?
Same number.
Okay.
They should pick up when you call back.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, see you in 2 weeks, Esther. Thanks a lot.
What do I need to learn now? Because of the pledge of
we're going to go back to the anthem the next. Ensure that you learn the second verse of the anthem the next time around. Because we normally sing and only sing the first verse, so we're going to sing the first and second verse. So study the first and second verse of the national anthem.
Right.
Jamaica's national anthem.
All right.
All right.
No
So
problem.
take care of yourself, Esther. No
All
respect.
right, you too. Take care.
Yeah, man.
Bye,
Cool.
everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. So that was Esther. I am sure you learned a lot. I am sure. Annalisa J. Thanks for Jason, Kirk, Dark Boy. Thanks for everyone who tuned in. And we are hoping to do at least 2 other lives this week. Now go chat too much because I want people. I love keep my thing compact so that when people are listening the next day, to drawn out. All right. So enough respect, and I'll see you about Wednesday or so. Another live. All right. And I posted a news video earlier. I know some of you were quarreling, so I just post a news video and me start the live. But that's how we do it, man. It's still there, delete. So you can go back and watch it. All right. And remember, hit on the love button. Tell a friend. Bless up on yourself. All right.